Hello again, I'm Eugene Sakai, co-founder of Studio S Squared. We've been around since 1997 as a full-service architecture firm, and more recently an interior design and landscape firm, designing homes all over the Bay Area and more recently the Monterey Peninsula. We work collaboratively with our clients and each other to create unified designs for you from the moment you pull into the driveway to the moment you're relaxing in the great room of your home. Today, we're going to spotlight our landscape design process and why we felt it was necessary to offer landscape design on our projects. So welcome to our video, Landscape Design at Studio S Squared, Part 1, Who and Why. So I want to give a brief intro to Jose Arcebajo. He joined Studio S Squared in 2012 and is not only my business partner, but more importantly, the design director of our architectural team. And more recently, he spearheaded our landscape design service. Welcome, Jose.
Hi.
So Jose, what would you say is the primary reason you decided to add landscape design to our firm's offerings?
The primary reason is that we wanted to look at the design as a whole and not as different parts that have to be connected later. So we wanted to make sure that the architecture, the landscape, and the interior are all designed under the same vision. We were finding in the past that sometimes the landscape designs were not really connecting very well with the architecture itself. So we are finding now that with the approach of just one design for everything is much more successful.
So I mentioned that you are the creative director. You lead a team within our office. Maybe talk a little bit about how that team is structured and how you work with your project managers and drafters.
So we have 4 very talented project managers that for each of our projects are going to help to drive the project from the beginning to the end. And any of the projects, Lynn and I are always involved in the design and on the overall process. But the project managers will kind of communicate with you at any point. We give you updates on not only the architecture but also the landscape design. So that's something that also even during construction, the project manager will have a very clear vision of the entire design. They will check architecture, they will check parts of the interior, they will check the landscape as well.
Yeah, great.
And then we have we also have a team of drafters that are great also and incredibly helpful, and they are helping us to move the project faster, and they have also great ideas that help to refine and improve the designs.
Absolutely. Awesome. So last but not least on our team, in terms of who we are, wanted to mention a very important player of our landscape design service, Mr. Greg Ng, who is a state of California licensed landscape architect. He's got 30 years experience in the Bay Area practicing landscape architecture. He's the founder of his own firm, Greg Ng and Associates Landscape Architects, and under that firm partnered with Studio S Squared on literally dozens of projects over the years. But now we are exclusively in a partnership with Greg to practice single family, and he does that exclusively for us. He has basically shut down the single family portion of his practice and only does single family architecture with our firm. Jose, so in terms of Greg's overall role on the landscape team, what areas does he focus on?
Greg is going to be focused especially on the planting plans, selecting the different trees, the different plants. He's an amazing landscape architect that has collaborated with us on many projects, and he just brings the design to life. We are on the architectural part. We are more involved in making sure that the landscape areas are nicely connected with the architecture. But then Greg brings all his technical skills and knowledge to develop the technical plans and also selecting the actual plants and trees.
Yeah, the clients will get to work directly with Greg on this, where he will actually bring options to the table for plant selections and help unify the vision between the hardscape and the softscape. And then he will also do the technically difficult irrigation plans, which usually require a specialist. A lot of landscape architects hire this out and have that done through an irrigation consultant, but Greg actually does them himself with his many years of experience and knowledge. So he's a great part of our team, and quite frankly, we couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, definitely.
So I wanted to get a little bit into the why again. We talked about the who, but I think it's also worth talking about the why. why landscape architecture within an architecture firm. This is really one of our newer services. I mean, we've only really rolled it out since about 2019. I think we maybe talked about it maybe a year or two before that, trying to figure out what is the best way to kind of add this value for our clients. But really, what kind of drove it was the repeated client requests that we got from clients who asked us, could you do the landscape design as well as the architecture? You know, we prefer to work with one firm. We like working with you guys. Can you do this for us? And much like our interior design, we always defer to dedicated landscape architects, because we felt it was a specialty that we weren't fully up to speed on. But I think being able to bring Greg on board, and then just really deciding to make a strong effort in this, we were able to push this out. Jose, what, in your opinion, is the best part of us having this service in-house from a client perspective?
Yeah, the main things are that we are always focused on a very high quality design, like on all the different aspects of the design. And then also it makes for a much easier process to our clients. It's much more efficient. We can do meetings sometimes when we talk about landscape ideas, architectural ideas. We present designs when we are presenting the landscape and also like the architecture. Sometimes when we make changes, some changes affect architecture and landscape. Everything is like much easier for our clients and much more efficient too.
Yeah, ultimately what we're trying to do, I mean, it's a difficult process to do a custom home. I think the landscape often gets forgotten or is treated as an afterthought. And we certainly don't want that to be the case. I mean, generally there's more outdoor area than indoor area on any site. And so I think it's really important to treat those areas with equal importance, because ultimately the best design is one where everything flows together from the property line in, even down to the interior finishes. And I think that's really the unified vision that we're striving for. But there are other really good reasons, that go beyond just the unified vision approach. So Jose, why don't you talk about reduced timelines?
Yeah, that's a very great point, because we don't need to be on, like, every time that we need to make, there's like a chance that maybe it affects the landscape for maybe an architectural reason, maybe an interior reason. We don't need to maybe like be coordinating with a third-party consultant, because directly we can make the change ourselves and keep the project moving. We don't need to be waiting on like maybe a wait list, because maybe landscape architect we are working with has other priorities for that week and doesn't have time for that specific thing to be addressed. So yeah, we are seeing many, like, just by the fact that we can jump on doing those changes when we need them, that reduces the timelines, and then also the coordinations.
Exactly. One less party to deal with, right? It's more of a one-stop shop approach. Yeah. We also kind of understand what the market pricing is for this service, because we've seen so many proposals over the years from third-party landscape architects. And, I think compared to what our competition is charging, I think we offer a lot of value. And Jose, in your mind, what are some of the differentiators that our firm offers in terms of added value for our clients besides, having it all one stop?
Yeah, so especially like we are so used to design and thinking 3D that we can do it like very fast. We can develop so many ideas very fast in 3D, and then decide on which can work better. That we can also be very efficient with our time when we are designing the landscape. So that's one of the main parts that also help us to be like very competitive with the fees, even if we feel that we bring like much more value in many areas.
Right. I think it's pretty rare for me at least to see a landscape firm that even offers 3D, and when they do offer it, it's typically at a very, very basic level compared to the modeling skills that our team has. One of the other things that kind of speaks back to the one firm approach is the client already knows us and we know them. Maybe talk a bit on that, Jose.
Yeah, we like from the beginning of the project, we understand the vision of our clients, and we focus a lot of time on like making sure that we understand what are the most important aspects that our clients want to, and more important goals that our clients want to achieve with their project. And sometimes like everything is so, all the different aspects of design, from landscape to architecture to interior, everything is so related that sometimes maybe a change on the architecture affects the landscape, or affects a change of the landscape affects the interior. So just trying to connect those finishes, trying to create those interior spaces that feel like exterior spaces, like connection between interior and exterior. So yeah.
Well said. Very well said. We touched a bit on the 3D modeling. I think that's really important because, I think the training of a landscape architect is generally to kind of think in 2D, because you think about a flat ground plane, maybe there's a little bit of slope to it here and there. But, if you really get into how people experience a landscape, it's not as a flat plane, it's a three-dimensional experience. So maybe touch a bit on this. And I know we have our second video where we go into this in a lot more detail, and I encourage our viewers to take a look at that video. But just from the standpoint of the client perspective and the value that modeling brings, maybe touch a bit on that, Jose.
Yeah, and we have this project that we have in the screen is a great example for that, because from the when we had to understand our client's wishes on the landscape before even we design the architecture. This is a very unique site in Saratoga. It has like two creeks that join together into one area that has like an oak tree that is some very nice place. And then that same concept, we took it into the architecture, creating those two forms that also join into a koi pond area that is connecting the two areas of the home. But at the same time, even to the details, when we are looking at the details for the actual architecture, we knew that our clients were going to want to have some of the Japanese style garden. So we included some of those details in the architecture itself. So when looking like this design from like especially the closer distance, some of the horizontal wood elements that we are using relate very nicely with the landscape design. So it's all just like one design. It's all integrated.
Yeah, and having an architect who is looking at the landscape, it's actually very easy for us to look at sort of moments in the landscape, such as this portal and this bridge. Those are structural elements that, quite frankly, are easy for an architect to design because we're used to designing buildings. And so these little moments, like when you cross the bridge and go through this portal, those are architectural moments that maybe are sort of unique to our thinking about architecture. I know that this house in particular has some additional moments like this in the back, but overall, it's thinking about the whole property as one design challenge. From the outside all the way to the inside, smallest details. We're going to touch on this topic in a bit more detail in our part 2 video, but just having all three disciplines in-house allows for us to have a much tighter, cohesive set of construction documents under the same format, using the same type of graphic standards, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that sort of speaks to the unified approach that we have. Jose, maybe touch a bit on that as we sort of wrap this video up here.
Yeah, it's all kind of like from the initial, the beginning of the project, kind of like seeing and understanding that vision that our clients want to achieve for their project, and we kind of like being that technical help that our clients need to see that that vision come up to life.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. Well, just want to say thanks to our viewers for watching this video on our landscape design services at Studio S Squared. As you can see, we have an Instagram page, which we encourage you to follow. We update it regularly with work in progress and some of our finished work, as you can see here. Please also visit us on our website. We're adding more videos fairly regularly, not as often as we would like, but certainly this one will live there as well. And tell your friends about us too. So thank you very much, and please have a look at our part 2 video coming up, and we'll see you there.